Hey everyone, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. I know you want to hear me talk about missile, but first I would like to cover the map for people that come here just for the map, and then we're going to talk about the missile situation. All right, let's go. The map is very difficult. Russia has some time right now because it has some troops in position, and Russia has intensified attacks around multiple directions by using the troops that that it freed from Kherson together with the mobilized troops. We've seen that in the past like 24, 48 hours, there's been a very much intensified attacks around the south and eastern front line, so basically around Donetsk region. It seems that Russia's goal, basically with the newly freed troops, is to focus on the Donetsk region and trying to essentially achieve the political victory. Maybe in a sense of if we don't allow Ukrainians to take Luhansk and we free up Donetsk, then at least Putin can, declare that he essentially ended the war somehow, and then, yeah. Basically, that's the plan. So we see a lot of the activities, and I'm going to switch to red for Russia. So activities around Hulaypole over here. By activities, I mean Russia's intensifying attacks. Hulaypole, the attacks are towards Velika Novosiliovka. Those are kind of noticeable attacks. And then super big attack and super big push around Vuhledar. It's unfavorable position because Russia is pushing basically just directly into Ukrainian fire. And a lot of them are getting slaughtered. It's literally they're walking over the bodies. But right now they are trying to advance. As much as we know, right now the situation is that they are about controlling half of Pavlivka by the recent reports. But this position is still very, very vulnerable to the Ukrainian attacks from Vuhledar. So it's a difficult position for the Russians, but they are advancing no matter the costs. Russians are continuing to advance around Marinka. A lot of activity here around Avdiivka and Pisky, probably Pisky area. Russia is definitely determined to get Ukraine out of Avdiivka and essentially open to expand on this territory, to open some kind of ability to expand into the Donetsk region, and then maybe, try to encircle additionally Kramatorsk, pressure Bakhmut from the south, etc., etc. So Russia is looking for opportunities, and Avdiivka is in a vulnerable position. Then super heavy, like extremely heavy, like no joke, fights around Ivangrad and Bakhmut. So south of Bakhmut, around Ivangrad and Opytne. So Opytne is controlled by Ukrainian troops. If you can see, it's like on the left side, and Ivangrad is kind of parallel to Opytne on the right side. And Ivangrad has Russian troops in it, and Opytne has Ukrainian troops in it, and they essentially look at each other and they just shoot at each other. Like there's like some tank videos around this going around. It's crazy stuff. And another hot zone is around Soledar and also Bilohorivka. So you can see, if I just kind of zoom out, so a lot of really, 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 really hot spots. So let me just mark them for you. So Bilohorivka, Soledar, south of Bakhmut, then it's around Avdiivka here, Marinka, Vuhledar, Velika Novosilka, Hulaypole. Russia is definitely trying to use whatever they can. Now, the reports are that the attacks have not been successful. They obviously might advance a little bit and so on. They are slowly improving their positions just because they are not really valuing human lives. But most of these attacks are yet to capture significant points. However, we do see that a lot of pressure is building on Ukrainian positions, and I would be lying saying that it's easy for Ukrainians. It's really hard fights. What we expect coming up. Firstly, we expect Ukrainians to finally get their reserves in from the Kherson direction. So that will help stop some of the attacks, and then maybe regroup and so on. So we'll see if Ukraine will counterattack, again, we expecting that they will probably go south side, but again, the only full information, I again must stress this, I might be wrong. So Ukraine might choose some kind of other axis to attack. It doesn't have to be Melitopol. It most likely is Melitopol, but it doesn't have to be. So Russians are having a little bit of momentum here while Ukraine is still getting the troops out of Kherson, and they're trying to attack, and it's hard fighting. And some people misunderstand this, and I'm going to tell it again. I'm repeating it from time to time. Russia is not yet defeated, right? Russia is definitely cannot win. It's just a matter of how Russia will lose. But the problem is Russia still have a lot of stuff. Russia still have a lot of equipment. Ukraine still has like less equipment than Russia. They're able to achieve the parity in between them despite having a lot less equipment, just because the equipment that Ukraine uses is such a better quality than Russian is. But there is still a lot of Russian heavy equipment. They used to have problem of not enough manpower. Now they have manpower. It's shit manpower, like the shit equipment, but it's just so much of it. It's hard to imagine. So it's gonna take time for Ukraine to grind through it. It's not a matter of if Russia is strong, it's a matter of Russia is long. And again, remember, Ukraine is not fighting for the ground. The ground can be returned. Remember Izium? Remember this? Right? Russia controlled all of this territory. Now it doesn't. The territory can be brought back. It's not the point. If Ukraine needs, it can fall back. It's a point about grinding down the attacking forces. If Russians are attacking, it's heavy fighting for Ukrainians for sure, but their point is not to essentially defend every centimeter. It's to kill as many Russians as they can and destroy as many vehicles as they can. That's the situations on the front line. Ukraine is not really advancing around these areas. There is like some tactical positional fighting around Svatoved, around Kremina, where Ukraine is trying to improve their positions. That's pretty much the situation on the front lines. So Russians are attacking on multiple fronts. We're waiting for Ukrainians to bring in the reserves, and I'm going to switch to my vlogging camera to talk about the missile strike. And some of the people already went to the community tab and like, oh no, Georgie has been wrong about missile. Whatever are you gonna do? And I want to just reiterate, guys, I've been wrong on the facts on this channel before. Not often, but I have. And I will be wrong on the facts on this channel coming in the future. This is war. There is a lot of fog of war. What I can tell you is that while, yes, my assessment of the situation is not what we find out now with more details on the day 2. However, I was reporting on the situation that was developing, and basically I was never literally hiding that it was something that I was discovering practically with you during the stream where you just shared the links to me. So I feel absolutely no shame that I got it wrong yesterday about the missiles. But what does the missile situation bring us? So firstly, we obviously know most probably that it's been Ukrainian anti-air missile that hit Poland. It was unlikely situation for multiple reasons. Firstly, it was the Russians that shoot their missiles and Ukraine just defended itself. So it was more likely that it was just a Russian missile that maybe either went off course or it was hit by Ukrainian anti-air system and then it changed course. Secondly, for the anti-air missile, especially S-300, which supposedly was found in Poland, it needed to be shot at, and the anti-air missile S-300, if it doesn't catch a target, then usually it has a self-destruct mechanism in it. So that would mean that the missile would explode. However, by the pictures that we saw from the accident, we definitely see a crater. It's a crater from explosion. It's not just a crater of a landed piece of metal, like maybe some fragments of the missile. It was an actual explosion that happened on the ground. So that would mean that this anti-air missile would not only need to be shot at from Ukraine towards Poland direction, not only it would need to miss the target that it was firing at, also the self-destruct mechanism needed would need not to be fire. And finally, the missile would also need to detonate on hit. So a lot of the things that needed to come together for this event to happen as it is, it was just not very likely situation. However, as more and more reports are coming in, we see that it's probably a likely situation. I really appreciate Zelensky's approach to this situation. I've heard that they're contesting that it was still a Russian missile, which is fine, because I've also heard that Zelensky has talked with Duda, and I would hope that he would reiterate the message that they are sending their condolences to Poland and essentially saying if it was Ukrainian missile, then we are very sorry, it was not on purpose. And if that is indeed the message, at least that's what I'm hearing, then what we're going to be expecting is quite a positive outcome of this situation overall. Hey everyone, Georgie from the future here. When I say it's going to be a positive outcome, I mean it's going to be a positive outcome for the Ukrainian defense and ability to defend its citizens. It is still a terrible tragedy, and would like to express my condolences to the friends and families of the people that got killed by this terrible accident. I am really hoping that this will more unite Polish and Ukrainian people together, and we will get over with, and we're going to finish off Russia so this will never happen again. Back to the video. Obviously, this will not be Article 5 and Article 4 response as we would expect before from the Russian strike. But by the way, let's talk about the Article 5 and Article 4 a little bit, because people misunderstood that. I did a community post, but I'm going to also tackle this on the video. So some people think that some people, especially on Twitter, said like, okay, people that claiming that Poland got attacked that is going to trigger Article 5, it's going to trigger Article 5. You just need to read the Article 4 like it's a complete, like, you know, like a defeat position. That's it. Article 5 is never going to trigger. So the Article 4 states basically that the countries in difficult situations that there might have been attacked should call in for like a NATO Security Council meeting. Like, I don't remember right off the top of my head what was the correct definition. But the point is, it says that the countries need to start consultations. It is very normal procedure to have Article 4 triggered. Article 4 have been triggered multiple times over the history of NATO. It is a normal procedure to have discussions around the security of different countries, especially about the invasion potential or a deliberate strike. Article 4 essentially can be a precursor to Article 5. So countries can get together, assess what kind of information they have, and if indeed, for example, something might have proven, then they might have triggered the Article 5. That would be a normal procedure. Like, to trigger Article 5 right away would literally need to be an attack quite deliberate and quite clearly understood. But also, second thing that people misunderstand about Article 5 is that Article 5 is not a binary switch, like from 0 to a complete total nuclear war. That is not how Article 5 works. Article 5 means that the countries are essentially required to do action in maybe military sense. However, there are multiple steps and gradation. I hope it's a gradation. So there are gradual steps in the Article 5 of escalation. It would not mean that there would be instant total war between NATO and Russia, for example, in this case. It would mean that there would be step-by-step, maybe escalation plan. Maybe, as we've discussed before, no-fly zone, or even partial no-fly zone. To be honest, I think a partial no-fly zone would be even approved by majority of people in Poland, even without this situation in Article 5, just to protect the borders. So we see that there has been a lot of unclear, and there is a lot of fog about the situations, and we're going to see how the situation ongoing. I want to say thanks to everyone who is continuing to watch this channel, who is liking, subscribing, sharing links to this video on their social networks, and obviously the amazing supporters of this channel on Patreon and YouTube membership. I'm donating at least 50% of the profits that I get from this channel to the Ukrainian military to support the war effort. Another 50% I will use to slowly improve this channel. Like, for example, now that I moved to buy some sound isolation, so you don't have the empty room effect anymore. Thank you so much. I love you all. Stay safe. Slava Ukraini.